Hi, I'm Shannon Vandermark, and this is the Happily Ever After Without Children podcast. Hello there, 2019. Nice to have you back, subscribers, and a giant welcome to any newcomers. And I know that there are more and more new listeners all the time because I get the number reports. You can't hide from me. Well, in fact, you can. I just see the numbers, so you can hide behind numbers. This podcast is for anyone who doesn't have children, and for anyone who loves someone who doesn't have children. It is for those who have struggled to conceive, but also for anyone who has found themselves realizing that for whatever the reason, children of their own might not be in their futures. It is also for those steadfast in their decisions to never have children in the first place. Everyone holds a rightful place in this conversation. Everyone. And that means the dudes too. Look out for even more Facebook and Instagram live videos in the coming months as I really get going with my social media marketing. I promise I'm going to do it in 2019. I really promise. I'm actually taking a course on it and everything, so prepare to be bombarded. You're going to get so sick of my face. Because this is an independent project, meaning I record, edit, and broadcast out of my guest room, the best way for the public to find this program is through word of mouth, and by getting a bunch of reviews on iTunes specifically. So if you like what you hear, please do me a huge favor and take a moment to write a review on the Happily Ever After Without Children podcast page on iTunes. It needn't take more than a couple of minutes, and I promise it won't cost you a penny. Or pence. And please also share details of the podcast on your social media page, and subscribe if you have not already. So here we are at episode 14, and it's January. Yay! I hope you are all staying true to your resolutions. Or not. Whatever. I just got new passport photos taken to renew my U.S. passport, and my face looks so wide in them, I actually asked the guy if it really fit into the legal guideline margins. He laughed, but I wasn't kidding. Well, it looks as though maybe I haven't had enough New Year's resolutions. There's always February. That's the month to really get stuck in, right? Most of my guests have tried to have their own children, but have now made peace and found happiness in a life that does not involve their own children. But my guest this week is Greg Betzweizer, half of the Greg and Kamra couple who are dear friends of my husband and mine. The four of us are usually laughing the entire time we're together, and we definitely share quirky sensibilities, which I think totally comes through in our chat. Oh, and by the way, Greg was speaking to me from LA, I in London, so if it sounds a little bit like we're talking through a computer, it's because we are. Greg and Kamra's decision to not have children was not always a straightforward one, and although the idea of knocking up the wrong partner was terrifying, the vision of creating life with the right person was appealing.
I always thought in the back of my mind to have intercourse with the intention of making a child would be like the most amazing thing.
When did you feel like that?
Well, it was a conflicting thing. Early on, I thought I'm so afraid of having children, but how amazing would it be? I didn't think it was going to happen for me. But I thought, well, that would be a whole nother level of connectedness or attachment, I think, to be, mutually trying to make a baby. I never found somebody that I wanted to make a baby with until Kamra, but my wife Kamra. But I really was afraid of getting someone pregnant. And it kind of took some of the fun out of it, I think.
When I recorded this interview with Greg, his father had just gone into hospice, which he mentions in the interview. Sadly, his father passed away just a few weeks ago, so I was hesitant about putting out this particular episode this particular month. However, when I checked in with Greg about this, he told me that the timing could not be more perfect. So in memory of Greg's father, and for all of you childless and or child-free listeners who have lost a parent, This episode is in honor of you. I hope you enjoy this episode, and I'll check in with you at the break. Greg?
I'm good, Shannon. I'm good.
It's nice to hear your voice.
You too. You sound just like I remember you.
You do too. You haven't aged a day since June.
That's good to know. I've aged on the inside.
Yeah, well, it happens.
Yeah.
It happens to the best of us.
Oh, I wish I was the best of us.
I know, I do too. Now, am I going to talk to Kamra after you?
No, Kamra just got back from Vegas yesterday from 13 days of...
13 days?
It was a long time.
What did you do with yourself?
Nah, me and the dogs. I stayed home.
You cried?
I took long, depressed naps.
Yep, that's pretty much what I do when Robin's away. I actually think it's healthy for a relationship for people to go away for long periods of time.
I like the downtime. I think as an introvert, it's good to recharge my battery.
Yeah.
I can deal with people then better.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm an extrovert, but I still need to recharge. And it's just nice to just do whatever I want to do. And not that I don't do what I want to do, but you know what I mean.
Oh, totally. It's it's nice being on your own calendar or watch where it's like, I think I'm going to order a pizza, and then actually ordering the pizza and then having it come and then eating it instead of like, I don't feel like pizza. I would prefer if we did this, and then let's not get anything. Okay, let's just be angry at each other. Okay. Oh, I ate an egg secretly.
Yes. Yeah, sometimes it's just easier.
Yeah, it's nice. It's good.
So let's talk about child-free living.
Okay, that sounds good.
How we have started in the past with kind of these chats is just kind of telling me about what it was like growing up as little Greg, and how your upbringing kind of shaped your vision of your future in regards to family life.
Sure. Well, I'm the oldest of 4 children, and my parents, my mom is a school teacher, and my father had periods of unemployment, flipping jobs between when I was 13, 14, and I don't know, maybe the next 15 years after that, he just had a hard time finding something that was going to be profitable. And so anyway, I'm the oldest of 4. I'm this child of a school teacher who she was dealing with second graders who needed a mommy,
right?
Throughout the day. And just recently we were having a conversation, and she said, when I came home, I was very strict with you because I didn't want to deal with unruly children on my time off. So I felt like that was true, but she acknowledged that she was a really hard parent.
Interesting.
It was. It felt like, it wasn't just me being a wimp. It was like, okay, all those punishments that I had to endure, all the days I was grounded from television, or it was like, okay, my formative years were actually formed by an angry teacher. Okay, well that kind of adds up then. But it did. It made all of us kids a little, I don't know, a little off, I suppose, in the way we approached parenting. and the women and the partners we chose, actually.
And how so?
All of my brothers and sisters, well, my sister is very much like my mom. but we've all chosen very strong, opinionated women to tell us what we should be doing with ourselves at any given point.
Interesting. So you think
Yeah,
that was a pattern of you were very used to being kind of um
almost required. I think I
right.
don't think I would have gotten married if I hadn't found Kamra. I didn't see any value in it until I found her and realized, like, oh, she actually can make me better. This is good. This is something I want to be better for her. I'm not going to be with a woman who's going to just accept me as I am, or me accept me as I am. That be okay.
Mm-hmm.
I need a partner who's going to like make me want to be better. Let's put it that way. So yeah, so I don't think it would have worked. I mean, I wouldn't have gotten married if I hadn't found Kamra. I'm fairly confident in saying that.
And so when did you, because you said that your mom only just recently told you about her, like the reasons behind her discipline, but did you recognize that similarity kind of in the strong women in your life between Kamra and your mom a while ago, or is this recent kind of soul searching stuff?
No, it's something that we saw. We recognized a pattern as a among the siblings pretty immediately. My brother was married first, and he's married to a wonderful, very strong woman, opinionated also, who
Mm-hmm.
they were married, gosh, 20 years ago. So, and they have two wonderful kids, and they work together really well. But they they set the precedent for my mom as a grandmother and a advice giver, unrequested advice giver, or Badinsky, or
I like Badinsky.
yeah. My mom had some very strong opinions about how children should be raised, and the role that the church should play in that. And
Ah,
she would, the kids have to be baptized, and she would leave little clippings of advice, taken from magazines, and leave them on their nightstand and stuff, just casually, like, hi, just in case you didn't know you're gonna go to hell if you don't get baptized.
oh my gosh.
So a lot of pressure from her, and it caused a lot of friction between my brother and her, and his family and her. And
But so that's interesting because I guess I'll just drop in that you and I have known each other for, I don't know, like going on probably like 5 years now,
yeah,
because
that sounds right. We probably met at right around the time Gordon and Beth got married.
yes, exactly. So then that would be more like 8 years ago. Geez.
But we've
But
only really been close for 4 years.
we've only been besties for 4 years when we went
That's
to
right.
New Orleans together for my 40th. But I
Right.
didn't realize that there was such a strong I don't know if I knew about the religious background with your family. Do you think that played any part in was there any pressure from your mom to have kids, or for you or your brothers and sisters to start families?
It was the other way, I think. They were so worried about me getting my girlfriend pregnant that was the biggest concern they had. After, well, if she does get pregnant, how are you going to raise the child? From, the start of my dating life, which, I don't know, was pretty late, I guess. I didn't have my first real girlfriend until I was 16, almost 17.
I don't think that's old.
No?
That's
Okay.
about normal. I mean, not everybody even has a significant other until their 20s, until they move out.
Yeah, I moved in with her when I was 18. And
Yes, I mean, so that's quite young to move in with someone, I
I
think.
guess that's true. Okay. Well, it was a serious relationship, and
Yeah.
it was definitely life-changing, and formative, and the end of the world for my mom and dad, who just couldn't. She was Jewish also, which was a nightmare for them.
because they
Because
thought
we're Catholic, and how are you going to raise the child? And you're inevitably going to impregnate your Jewish girlfriend and ruin everyone's life. How is this gonna? We have to find some kind of, value in this relationship. So at least promise us that the child will be, raised Christian or Catholic.
Which you couldn't, because if especially in the Jewish community, if
Exactly.
it'd be the mother's religion, wouldn't it?
Yeah, God decided already, so it would have been a real complicated conversation.
So do you think, so around the time that you were with the first girlfriend that you lived with, having kids was like the worst thing that could happen to you?
Yeah, exactly. It would have ruined not just our future, but it would have been devastating for my parents, and just just a nightmare, I think, all around. So that was, I mean, I didn't want to have kids, but I really was afraid to have children based on what, they were telling me how it was going to go. So, I was always really, really conscientious about protection and not making babies. That was like a real issue. A focus of my joy, my sexual exploration was to,
So that was kind of your formative years in family planning, and
yeah, exactly. It was, I'm only going to date people that I know there's no future with. And, I fell in love quickly and fell out of love quickly. And it was, I kind of lived for that. I want to be alone now. Then, I want to be in a relationship now. I want to be alone again. And, really keeping it very dramatic and totally codependent and then totally non-committal at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a very, I don't know. It wasn't, nothing was going to be built on these relationships. It was just for distraction, I guess, or fun, but always with the fear, like, oh God, I can't get stuck. I can't get pregnant because then I'll be stuck.
What's the fear of getting stuck?
I think it's the idea that it won't be my choice anymore. I'll have to, it's the requirement that you knocked her up. Now you have to marry her, and kind of a thing.
So well into your 30s, you were still looking at getting somebody pregnant as getting stuck and just not wanting that kind of commitment with anybody.
Yeah. Well, until I was early 30s when I met Kamra.
Right.
And it was like a switch flipped. It wasn't necessarily that I wanted to have kids or anything. It was that I want this person in my life, and I want this person to be with a better me, which was something that had never occurred to me before. I wanted to change. I wanted this person to be someone who didn't smoke cigarettes and was faithful and was protective and a good provider, and things that were challenging for someone who had always shunned forever homes, I guess.
So what was the magic formula? It was just love at first sight.
She fascinated me in ways that, like, it seemed like she came out of like a fairy tale. Like I saw her from across the room, and I went over and tried to engage, and she wasn't interested in talking to me, but my friend was able to talk to her friend, so she had to tolerate this guy standing behind her who wouldn't leave me. Just trying to get information about what she likes and what she does for a living. And she said her name was Kamra, and I was like, Kamra, that's an incredible name. How original and interesting, and you're Beautiful. Oh, and you also are an agent for photographers. Well, that never happens. This is crazy. And you don't want anything to do with me. And so like, oh, well, I'm trying to start a band and I need a singer. Well, I don't sing, she says, but I play bass. I'm like, oh, I need a bass player too. Oh, would you like to try out? Well, why don't you give me your number and you can come by and try out and see if you want to play bass in my band. And I didn't have a band or anything. I played guitar, and it was kind of, I don't know, just I was exploring every angle.
You already knew that the audition was pointless because no matter how she played, she was in the band.
Oh yeah, it didn't matter. I just wanted her to come by, and I didn't. She
was good though. She's a good bass player as well.
Oh, very much, very good, and we got really good at playing together. And because I told her, if you're serious about doing this, you'll have to come over 5 nights a week, and especially on weekends.
You are a smooth operator. Especially on weekends when you might go out on dates with other people.
Right, exactly. I don't want you, being too social.
No.
And our rehearsal space was my bedroom, so.
Such a smooth operator.
Oh, all the warning signs were there, and but it was convenient for her to come over. My place was in Hollywood between her place in Silver Lake and her job on the West Side, so she just brought her bass over after work every day, and we play for a few hours and get some food and have some beers or whatever, and then she'd leave, and we talk on the phone when she's driving. It was really a relationship of convenience for her and like desperate passion for me.
Oh, I don't believe that she wasn't a bit on the passionate side as well.
It took a year of, rehearsing and putting stuff together musically as a band before she, said, oh, I think maybe I do love Greg. I should explore that feeling. A year. It was amazing. It was so, so torturous and, perfect, like telenovela.
It's very romantic.
It was special. And that was special in a way that I hadn't ever felt before.
And so you didn't mind getting stuck with Kamra. In fact, you were dying to get stuck with Kamra. Were you trying to get her to throw away her birth control then?
No, that was the thing. We used actually birth control of one sort or another well into our marriage. Not because I think we weren't sure. We weren't sure if we were going to get a pet. We weren't sure if we were going to have kids. We weren't, we didn't have it figured out. And together we didn't have it figured out. We talked about it and thought maybe, and we're feeling a lot of pressure from her mom that we need to have children, but we, neither of us really knew. And we were doing things, taking precautions to not while we tried to figure it out. And then we just realized that it wasn't going to happen.
And so how long, when did you realize, was it kind of a slow burn, or did you have a series of conversations, or was it just kind of like, oh, I guess maybe if we're gonna.
I think we figured out how well we work together as a couple and how being a husband and a wife takes precedence to being a father or mother. Like we saw the benefits as far outweighed the benefits of being a married couple without children. Just seemed to outweigh the benefits of being parents at that time. And then that time just kept going.
When was that time? How old were you guys? How long have you been together?
We've been together 12 years as a married couple. We've been friends and partners for 16, 17 years. So, my longest relationship by far, hers as well.
Mm-hmm.
And, we just understand through the conversations and just through life that this is how we work. This is how we work together, and we don't want anything to complicate that, I guess. Dogs are like as far as we're going to get with.
And those two dogs that you have aren't even difficult. They could be difficult dogs.
Well, Charlie does want to go to university, and Lucy's poetry is really desperate. So,
well, what do you love? Tell me about that. About what you love about just being with each other that you don't want to sacrifice.
I think that we have a lot of freedom financially and time-wise for each other, and to allocate to being apart from each other. She travels for work, and I do we have a getaway cabin that needs constant maintenance out in the desert that's about 200 miles away from where we live. So I go out there and work on that and spend time alone thinking about stuff. And she, we both appreciate the quiet separation moments, I think, as it makes us more eager to see each other, I guess, when we've been apart. And having children, I think, would change that dynamic. I expect it would end that. You can't have, dad always running to the man cave or to, the middle of the Mojave Desert just because he doesn't want to be a dad at that point. It's not fair.
Some people do that, I think.
I know, and it doesn't seem fair.
No.
It seems like a cheat. And selfish. I think that's a big part of it. We take care of each other, but we're also, very aware that we need to self-heal. So.
I'm going to take a short break here to talk a little bit more on the subject of self-healing, as Greg mentioned, and self-care, the current buzz phrase used by so many hashtaggers and by the health and beauty industries ad nauseum. Look, I know it's all a bit dry Jan, veganuary, New Year's resolutions, and I know you're all probably sick of hearing about all the ways you're messing up and how you could do life better, but just hear me out. You haven't heard it from me yet, so yeah, sometimes we can confuse self-healing and self-care with selfishness, but the healing that Greg is talking about is so important. Getting time on your own to recharge your batteries so that you can be a better husband, wife, friend, son, daughter, mother, or father isn't selfish. It's knowing yourself. Pursuing your own hobbies that may not include your partner isn't selfish. It's energizing and fulfilling, and it allows you to be more invested in your relationships when you are present because you don't feel ripped off that you never get to do anything that you want to do. Deciding to not have children because you want to put all of your intentions into being a better spouse, friend, or offspring isn't unhealthy or selfish. It's enlightened, and it's totally fair. Self-healing isn't just necessary when you're wounded. It's necessary now, so that when you do get wounded, physically, emotionally, or otherwise, you are fighting fit to handle that injury. I have a really close friend who writes for the health and beauty industry, and she was getting pretty ticked off by the overuse of this hashtag self-care malarkey, and rightfully annoyed over the misuse of its intentions. Now let me try to explain. It's an important reminder, of course, to look after oneself when the hecticness of life puts your mental and physical health on the back burner. 100%. But let's not all become a bunch of self-centered, couch potato chocoholics living under the lie we're perpetuating that it's all in the pursuit of self-care. How many times have you gone for an alcoholic drink cake or a sugar-laden whatever and convinced yourself that you really deserve it? Or how many times have you stayed on the sofa or hit the snooze alarm instead of going to that gym session that you were planning on attending? And when's the last time you dominated a conversation with a friend because your stuff is more important or pressing than theirs? In the past week, I have done all of those things, and not only once. So I'm well aware of the challenges here, and I'm not trying to be a hypocrite. It's not great, and I'm working on all of it. But let's never mistakenly call these actions self-care. And look at it this way. Sugar and alcohol are not treats. They're actually scientifically proven toxins. And even when you have an injury, staying immobile is oftentimes detrimental to recovery. And we all know that when we're feeling down, the quickest way to feel better is to help someone else. So if you really want to take care of yourself, treat yourself to a better diet and more fresh air, and maybe take a walk with that friend who's down and just shut up and listen. Because if you do that, you're sending a message to your body and mind that you love them. And we don't have a lot of time to get it right. So isn't now the time? I hope you enjoy this next part. I'll catch you on the other side. I know you were saying that Kamra's mom wanted grandkids off of you guys, but when did your mom and even your dad, did they ever shift from being like, do not get anyone pregnant, to being like, okay, you can give us some grandkids now?
I think they realized, especially, I think my mom realized how much damage she did to her relationship with my brother for all the pressure she put on them.
What was the pressure she put on them? Was it to have kids?
To have kids, to raise the kids a certain way. These expectations of how a child needs to learn, how a child needs to be disciplined, what's okay and what's not okay, how they should dress. I mean, she is very opinionated when it comes to that stuff, and caused a lot of friction between my brother Adam and his wife. And that family, I think, they had to relearn that grandma is, someone that you need to love. I think it seemed like it was a really sad, even now my father's sick. And so Adam's the closest one. He's, like I said, an hour away. And there's a lot of time when I get information about what something needs to happen, and he's the only one who can do it because I can't get there. And you got to put that stuff behind you, all those hateful, hurtful feelings, because it's not. She's your mom, and she needs you to, and she's not going to ask. So
right.
I'm asking for all of us, please do this. This is, we're kind of in a crisis. My dad's going into hospice pretty soon.
Oh, is he, Greg? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a rough journey with his health.
I know.
So my mom was like, alone a lot through as he became more frail, and finally was put into a health facility, and having to figure out how to get the money together for it's expensive and it's devastating, and I don't know how we can't really figure out where he's at, but if my mom hears something and she needs help getting something taken care of, it's, Adam, I need you to do this. And I know that you've got other stuff going on and you don't want to, but I know you want to. I know it's better to not know for him. I'll just be going for a week.
To get your dad settled?
Yeah, my mom is going to be moving into an assisted living facility this month. So my brother from Portland and I are going to come down and help her move.
Okay.
So that's what's driving this mostly. Plus, to see my dad. I didn't see my dad in a couple months, and he's deteriorating a lot.
Oh, it's so hard.
Yeah, it's really sad. It's like, I don't know. You find yourself walking around and just feeling bad a lot and not even realizing it. And then someone will, say, "Oh, God, you look like you're going to cry." It's like, I just feel bad. I don't have something in particular that's weighing on me other than what's always weighing on me. But yeah, okay.
That's a big deal. That's a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it'd be hard to be a parent and a son and a husband all at the same time, especially going through something like this.
And so there's a heck of a lot to be grateful for, to not have kids, obviously, as we've talked about, in terms of caring for parents and just having financial and hourly freedom. But is there anything that you feel like you're missing out on, or is there anything that breaks your heart about not having kids, particularly around the time that you're going through what you're going through with your dad? Does that bring up anything?
It's interesting. Yeah, I find myself getting more nostalgic for being his son. I'm looking at pictures of he and I together when I was 5, 6. And I've got one where he's working on the lawnmower and it's turned over and he's fixing it. And I'm like looking down there in my little shorts and my little sneakers and trying to learn or help or, be in the way, I guess, but just being near him and it's so heartwarming to see, like, oh, that's Greg and his dad, and they're working on a lawnmower, and he's gonna fix it, and it's gonna work. And I don't know, it's like it's almost like God, like a postcard or something from a trip. I don't know. It's such a special moment. And I was actually telling my dad about it not too long ago, and how important this picture was. And I brought it and showed him, and he was like, "Oh yeah." His memory of that day was, I was hovering over him, and he fixed the lawnmower and flipped it, and then he turned it on to scare me with the intention of scaring me. And he felt bad. And it was like, oh, I didn't mean to make you feel bad about that. But I do remember getting scared, but it's like, I was always, loud noises are always making me kind of jumpy. So, like a kid. So, yeah. Oh, so it was funny. It was funny to hear his side of that, his memory of that day.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to think about being enough, having all the resources inside me to be a father and a son and an uncle and a husband. And, I imagine that if it had happened, I would have, you just make it work. But I feel like I can be a better son if I'm not a father. Yeah. Mm-hmm. A better husband if I'm not a father.
So you think you can't be both. You can't be all of it.
I don't know how I would. I don't know how I'd juggle that.
Something would have to give.
Yeah. We have friends, and they've commented like, "Oh, he's such a good father, but he's a terrible husband." And I've got a whole list of reasons why he's a terrible husband. I want to give it to him for my birthday. Like, that's not a good thing to give somebody for your, no, that's a horrible thing to do. So,
don't do that.
Don't do that. Yeah. Thank you for, bouncing that idea off of me. So
yeah.
Stop.
I'm going to take that idea and put it in a box.
Yeah, exactly. That's in the ideas that should not see the light of day.
So when you were talking about the picture with your dad, did you think just about your dad, or did you think, God, well, I'll never be the dad scaring my son with the lawnmower, or getting my son to be my assistant? Do you ever have that?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I especially when I go out to the cabin out in the desert, it's like a perfect place for a kid to run around, and we'd get, I imagine we'd get like a little four-wheeler thing for him to ride around on, and we would fix things together. He could carry the hammer, and, I'd teach him how to drill a hole and drive a nail, and, this is how you measure and this is how you cut, and don't forget to drink lots of water,
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. Like, and watch movies together. It's like, I imagine those moments would have been special and precious, I guess, but they're not going to happen. So
some of your friends were trying to have kids, and you saw people around you kind of going crazy with the baby race, didn't you?
Yeah, everyone seemed to be really hot on the home birth thing in our little green peer group of I don't know, the whole, no, we're not going to have any vaccinations, and we're not going to have any trauma from a safe hospital birth. We're going to do it in a tub and have a doula, and all the conversations around that. Even my brother had a home water birth kind of a thing. Not my brother Adam, my brother Jeff in Portland. And it's like, you guys aren't safe. This is serious, and this is something that could go. And I mean, it did go really wrong for one of our friends. She was older when she gave birth, but it was like her body was telling her that you shouldn't have a baby, and they forced it anyway. And then they wanted to have a home birth, water birth. And after, I don't know how many hours of, complications, they finally went to the hospital, and the baby was in intensive care for months. And it's just a nightmare watching them. And then the child's still like, it will always be a special needs child. So.
Oh no! And do you think that that's down to the water birth?
Well, I know that what happens, I guess, when the child is it's gross. It inhales feces or something, and it can't breathe for a period. I don't know. It was like an awful.
Jesus.
Yeah. So it was.
Gosh.
It could have been better. It could have been a lot better. But it's a cautionary tale that people choose to not look at. It seems like out here, we don't hang out with them as much. They do mostly, birthday parties for their kids and stuff now. So it's easy to say, no, we're going to pass, but good luck. Yeah.
Have you noticed that friendships have taken a hit from other friends having kids?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. We tend to shift our friendships based on, right now, our closest friends are a couple of lesbians in their early 30s who
Perfect.
Yeah. It's like
there's no saying that they're not going to have kids though.
No, actually that's part of a point of contention right now. They're concerned that one of them wants children, even though that she's desperate, to convince everybody that she doesn't want kids. It's like, oh, this is probably going to be a problem down the road, but then we'll just have to find new friends, I guess.
and because I have the added unclarity that sometimes I don't know whether I just don't want to hang out with people with kids because it's just kind of, I have nothing in common with them and it's boring, or there's a part of me that it makes me feel bad, or it makes me, it just makes me feel bad. Either it makes me feel jealous or sad for myself. So I sometimes can't separate that. But I think that what we've talked about before with you is, yeah, I love kids, but sometimes you're friends with kids. And they say they're not going to do it, but they just can't talk about anything else.
Yeah, they can't talk about it or even focus. God forbid I should get on a phone call with my brother.
Oh my gosh. No.
And constantly half the conversation, right, is them talking to the kid.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Oh, hold on. Okay, hold on. I got to go take this out of their mouth. Or okay. Okay, great. It's like, I'm just going to let you go.
And it's not because I'm jealous or it makes me sad. It's because it's different points in people's lives, isn't it?
Yeah, for them it's parenting, and for me it's more of an irritation. Yeah. I think doing the stuff you do with the Scouts is really amazing. I loved being a Boy Scout and a Cub Scout, and it's like the stuff you learn is so valuable. I mean, you don't even realize it, that not just the first aid stuff, but like I've got friends that don't know how to swim, that never we're in a kayak once and like had the worst time. I'm like, oh, you guys missed out. The water is something that, especially you live on the river. It's like,
and just like knots and cooking, and well, our favorite thing is Halloween, because Robin and I do the scary room, and the kids come in, and this year Robin was an ogre with a cold, so he got like the slime, so they came in and he sneezed on them and slimed them. And then
I love it.
He was like, so there's a table and there's a bowl of candy, and then there's a cloche, like a silver dome thing over a plate.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And so the bowl has candy in it, and he's like, help yourself to some sweeties. And they stick their hand in there, but what they don't know is that there's a hole cut out the bottom, and my gloved hand is waiting there to grab their little mitts when they stick their hand in there for candy. And
they must have lost their minds.
Yeah. And then he's like, now, the reason why I'm trying to fatten you up is because I like cubs for dinner. And then he lifts the thing up, and I am dressed up like a cub, like with a scarf and like pigtails. But I look dead. And it looks like my head is just there.
Oh my God.
And then if they're being really bratty, then I open my eyes and scream at them, and then they scream. Because sometimes they'll just be like, that's your wife. We know that's your wife. Why did you? And then they're trying to crawl under the table.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's pretty fun.
That is awesome.
Halloween is so fun.
I'm glad you guys do that.
It is. It's really nice, because I think I realized at the end of it, when I was so sad, that I was just like, oh, I'm being ripped off, because I used to love babysitting and I love doing things with kids, and it's not fair. And then I was just like, I'm not going to be one of those people that shuns children, because I love kids. So put your money where your mouth is. If you really want kids and you can't have kids, then go do something with kids, because there's so many opportunities, like reading to kids in school, or, volunteering with Cubs, or there's like special needs kids. There's so many ways to put kids in your life if you really want them. Because I just really think that the biological drive to have kids is very strong, and I get that, and I had that. But I also think that it's so fulfilling to still have them in your life.
I think you're right. And you're still helping them to develop into better people, and you're giving them an experience that they're gonna remember. They're gonna take away. You're part of their lives, even if they're not biologically part of their life. It's like,
it's like
you're influencing, and oh God, you're offering time and
attention.
Yeah, exactly. It seems like the kids just aren't. I don't know. I'm sure they're fine. I'm sure all the children are fine. But it just seems so messed up. It seems so like a different time.
It is a different time.
A lot of fear, and that's just not. That's not fair. They should be excited about being kids.
Yeah.
I was always worried that the child that I brought into the world would be damaged for some reason. That would be either depressed, like I have a history of depression, or angry, or it was that fear, I think, that was another part of not pursuing it. It seemed like I'm sure most kids are fine, The majority of children are fine. That it's just, but gosh, it seems like there's a lot of anger, and I don't want to make another angry person.
Yeah.
So that was another thing on my notepad that, please don't make an angry baby.
It's interesting because that's very similar to how Robin feels. Like he was just worried that he would be challenged with somebody who was like him, and he wouldn't be able to deal with it, I think.
Yeah, very much so. That's like, what kind of baby can it's like, it's going to have a lot of my characteristics, like it or not. And I hope you're hoping that the good ones outweigh the bad ones, but gosh, being a person is hard enough, but being a person who's cursed to be me, like me.
You're just doing the world a favor.
Yeah, exactly. It's my small gift to the world is to not make a baby.
But it could have been a little Kamra.
Yeah, I know, which would have been a whole nother challenge.
Yes, but it would have been awesome.
It would have been awesome.
But yeah, no, it's just, it'll always, you can't pick and choose, and you'll see reflections of all of the good and all of the bad, I'm sure.
Yeah, it is. It's all in there. Just see which ones manifest.
Yeah, like a little snow globe. Shake it up and see how the snow settles.
Yeah, exactly. Or drop it and just watch it shatter.
Oh, that's really dark.
And that's why I don't have children.
You're welcome, world.
That's right.
I just wanted to say it's so nice talking to you. I could just talk to you about anything, but particularly thank you for talking to me about this, because it's very insightful and interesting to hear what you've got to say.
It's my pleasure. It's hard to have these conversations with, maybe I don't have these conversations with anybody. So I really appreciate this opportunity, and you and Robin are both dear to me, and Kamra and me. I feel pretty confident saying Kamra as well, but yeah,
yes. Likewise.
I wish things had worked out so that we could be in the same town.
In the same state or country, I would settle for.
That would be nice too. I'm really glad we could do this.
Me too. It's been great.
Oh, thank you, Shannon.
And tell Kamra I send lots and lots of love and beers her way.
I will. I'll pass that along.
All right. Well, I hope everything goes all right at home. I know it'll be hard, but good that you're doing it.
Thank you. Yeah, it's going to be, it's necessary. It's good. It's good that I'm doing it. So yeah.
It is. And it's good that you're free to do it.
Yeah.
All right. Lots of love, Greg.
Love you, Shannon. And give my love to Robin.
I will. Go Packers.
Yes, go Packers. I'm so scared.
Drink a beer.
Yeah, yes. Dull the pain.
Okay. Bye, Greg.
Bye, Shannon. I'll talk to you soon.
I'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
Bye. Thank you for joining me. If you are a new listener, you might want to check out episode 5, which includes a full version of my experiences with pregnancy loss and unwanted childlessness, or the interview I did with my husband Robin about our journey in episode 8. There is also a variety of other spectacular interviews with fascinating people I have had the chance to speak with over the past few months. Most of my guests have tried to have their own children, but have made peace and happiness in a life that does not involve their own children. Please join the Happily Ever After community on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter if you search Happily Ever After Podcast. And surf on over to my new website, provided to you by my generous Patreons. Thank you so much, patrons. Your monthly donations are going directly into my website building so that I can secure a place for people to hang out, visit, check in, interact, and just feel part of our community. If you like the show, please help me to promote it in any way you can. It really helps if you can share my Instagram or Facebook announcements so that your network knows where you can find the show. You can also write a quick review on iTunes. More reviews help make the show more visible to anyone searching for this topic. It's an algorithm thing. Another way to help is to become a Patreon. Go to the Happily Ever After Without Children page on Patreon. That's patreon.com/Happily Ever After podcast to make a monthly contribution so that I can remain an independent producer and so that you can get some exclusive perks. And finally, please share details of this podcast with your network of friends and family. You never know who else might be suffering and could really use a light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. This is your host, Shannon Vandermark, and I thank you for listening.